coming up with the negative. So it's, I've seen it in the right room, it's fairly prevalent. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at what is this thing about self-talk. You know, it's that little voice in your head, the one that just said, what little voice? You know, one that's like going on all the time. And it affects the emotional tank. There are no neutral thoughts. They are biochemical, electrochemical events. We have thousands and thousands and thousands a day, and they're not neutral. So they affect our emotional tank one way or the other. They are laying down patterns one way or the other. It is important. It tends to be negative. If you were to really somehow audio tape your head for the time it would be negative, it's that voice of judgment. Kids do it all the time. It goes on. It's really tough unless you're a really good Buddhist, meditator, Zen. It's really tough to get it to stop. Okay? And when that tape starts to go, it really takes athletes out of their game. Takes them off the high road. Okay? But this is something I struggle with. I mean, tell me if this, I'm going to read a couple lines here, and I want you to tell me if this ever sounds like you or coaches that you hear, or even you as a parent. It says, could you please, change your attitude. Does that ever sound like you? I don't want to hear that. Don't say that. Gosh, I wish you'd just be more positive. You're so negative. You can't be more like your brother, Do we ever say that, or you hear that? Like, so we're telling them to eliminate it, to stop doing it. But we're not telling them how. And it's actually really hard to make it disappear, but it's easier to replace it, to focus on something else, if that makes sense, instead of trying to make it go away, because then you're still focused on what it is, and it's not going to go away. So this is a tool for us. We need to show them how to change it. And there's a 3-step process. So we're going to transform that negative talk that you brought up a little bit earlier. So give me an example of one of the, keep it clean, but what's an example of a common negative self-talk phrase that you hear?
I'm not fast enough.
I'm not fast enough. I can't do this. The classic I suck. Right? So let's see how we can break this down. The 3-step process is, number one, to state it as a feeling. I'm not fast enough is a global statement that means like I'm not, forever will not be, never have been, which isn't true. But what is true in the moment is that I feel right now in this moment like I'm not fast enough. That is a more true statement. Okay? I feel like I'm not fast enough. Then you introduce them to the power of the big butt. And you use this however you want, depending on the age of your kids. You notice that it's a butt with one T. What happens when we're speaking and we say something, we use the word butt in a sentence? Yeah, Joe, love you, man. Shirt's awesome, but, the color just stinks. I should have actually said it over here with the cardinal red. What happened when I said that?
It just negates the whole compliment. Yeah.
Right. It devalues whatever comes before it. So in this process, though, we're going to use the power of that word in a different way. So I feel like I'm not fast enough, but, and they actually use that in their head, I'm the kind of person who, I'm the kind of kid who, I'm the kind of football player, athlete, whatever word is more comfortable for them, who, and then you help them fill in the blank. Who loves to compete, who never gives up, who works harder than anybody else. So this is a process, so when you teach this to them, and ideally as it starts to happen in their own head, they use this. What also is true with kids is it's going to pop out of their mouth. Oh, I hate this. You hear that, you enlist yourself in the team, say, but, and then they have to work on filling in the other line. Does that make sense? So some other examples: bounces back, rises to the challenge, works hard to get better. There's a million of them. Chloe, how many players do you have on your team?
The college level, 85 to 100.
Are you coaching college football right now?
Yeah.
Okay, and let's say your sub team, like what position are you working with?
We're in the 10 players at most.
Okay, great, so that's pretty doable.
Yeah.
Ken, how many on your team?
Oh, 18 to 20.
Okay. Keha,
60.
how many do you work with specifically?
3 or 4.
Okay, great. Joe,
14.
Chris?
19.
So, here's your job. What I want you to do right now, just so you have practice with this, is on your paper, at the bottom here, you have some room. I want you to write the number 1, 2, and 3 going down the page on that blank spot. And I want you to now to write in the names of 3 of your athletes who maybe struggled with negative self-talk. I want you to put their first name and their last name down. I want you to really bring that person to mind. Who is this person? And then, so you got 1, 2, 3, and then I want you to put a line next to them going this way, because you're going to fill in a personalized, a customized, truthful and specific attribute about that kid that you, it may not be completely true now, but you see the kernel. You see the seed. That if you water it, it will come to fruition. So, Chloe, give me a name of somebody you wrote down.
John Skelton.
Okay. So when you bring John to mind, what's an attribute about him that really rings true for you, that he brings to the party?
He may not be fast enough, but he's fundamentally a good player.
So his fundamentals are sound.
Yeah.
Or I've worked hard to develop my fundamentals. Or I know I can get better.
Yeah.
Okay. So this takes a little bit of work. It's a little bit of crafting because you want to create this phrase, ideally, for your whole roster.
Mm-hmm.
But it's unique and distinct. If you say, if your catchphrase is, "Oh, you're great, this and this," but you're the kind of kid who always bounces back. And then Joe hears me say, "Yeah, Joe, you're the kind of kid who always bounces back." It's like, wah, wah, wah. It doesn't have any meaning. So your homework assignment, I just had you do 3, but you need to now go through your whole roster and work on that because you're the seed planter. They will remember those phrases. Okay? So their self-talk and how to transform that in a moment. All right. All right, so what I would like everybody to do is stand up.
I'm going to try
Yeah,
the light.
okay.
Yeah. Does that work okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, stand up, and what I want you to do is I want you to imagine right now that I'm your coach. I hope you all have those nervous butterflies. Okay? I'm your coach. And it's time for me to determine the lineup. All right, got my clipboard here. You can't say anything to me. But on the count of 3, I want you to show me with your body language and your face, every cell in your body, absolute kick-butt confidence. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I want you to drive confidence with every single cell in your body. That when I look at you, I'd be the biggest fool not to put you in the game. All right? Now I want you to show me absolute, utter dejection. I going to have to go to 3. Okay, drive, I suck with every cell in your body. What do your kids do? What does that look like? All right, we don't want to hang there too long. Bring it back to confidence. Now look around the room. What are some common themes that you see that people do with their bodies when I say confidence?
Stand tall.
Impeccable posture. I mean, your mothers would be like so proud. So, what are some elements of standing tall? And good posture.
You lift your shoulders, straighten your back.
Even like up like forward knee, eyes looking at you.
Yeah, some of you, your eyes, they got me. Okay, legs, pretty much straight. Arms, we had some on the hips, some here. Now, does this posture remind you of anybody? Who gets trained to stand like this?
Matadors.
And?
Military.
Matadors and
Military.
military.
Okay, somebody needs to be confident in the face of, this, and again,
Take something up every day.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Now, what happened? What did everybody do when I said dejection?
Shoulders head down.
Can you feel a difference? You know what that